Welcome to Season 1, Zero Waste. Now I introduce you Professor S.Babel. Dr. S.Babel is a full-time professor at Sinhan International Institute of Technology, Thamsamat University, Thailand. Currently, she is also distinguished adjunct professor at Asian Institute of Technology, Thailand. Affiliate faculty joined Graduate School of Energy and Environment, QMUTT, Thailand. Visiting faculty Ton That University, Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. Dr. Babel is an expert in environmental technology and management with extensive professional experience in teaching and research. Holds master's and doctoral degrees in environmental technology and management from Asian Institute of Technology, Thailand. She was invited as a visiting professor at Kyoto University for 4 months. Dr. Babel is carried out many research and sponsored projects in collaboration with international organizations and governments including European Commission, DAAD, CIDA, SIDA, APN, Maezawa introduced Japan, Thailand, as well as with respective universities such as University of Tokyo, University of Kyoto, University Japan, Technical University Braunschweig, Germany, and Thammasat University, Thailand. Her current research interests includes conversion of waste to energy recovery of valuable materials from waste, low-cost technologies for wastewater treatment, microplastics, photocatalysis, P2 meditation, and adsorption. Dr. Babel has published extensively with more than 175 publications consisting of 2 books, 4 book chapters, reviewed of international journal articles, reviewed national journal articles, papers in national conferences. Her H index is 21 with total 5,588 citation based on Scopus database of January 15, 2020. She received award from the Thomas University Research Center for high numbers citations and high number of journal publication with impact factor. Now, Dr. Babel, you can begin.
Sorry, I forgot to unmute myself. So can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. You can
Okay.
start.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good afternoon. And my name is S.Babel, and today I'm going to talk about the situation of plastics and microplastic pollution in Thailand. But I will also provide some glimpses for what is happening in the world on this aspect of plastic and microplastic. We know that this is becoming a major problem for all of us. So I will cover about the global plastic production and plastic, how it is mismanaged, plastic waste and flow in Thailand, and then come to microplastic pollution, the sources of the microplastic, what are the causes, and what is the situation of the pollution in Thailand, especially in the drinking water or the water treatment plant and the Chao Phraya River, and why microplastics are important. So I will also talk about the microplastic toxicity and what Thailand is doing on the plastic waste management and some strategies to mitigate. Plastic is produced since 1950 and only 9% of that is recycled. And what is more important is this plastic cannot be degraded in the nature. Depending on the type of plastic, we take about 100 to 1000 years. So we have 2 groups of the plastic, the thermoplastic and okay. So we have thermoplastics, which we can reheat, we can reshape. All these examples like polyethylene, polypropylene, PVCs, and so on. And then we have thermosets, which we cannot, once heated, it will be deformed. We cannot remelt or reform again. Okay. So this is about the global plastic production. In the world in 2018, it was 359 billion tons of plastic produced. So you see 2017 was 348 and then it has increased to 359 in 2018. And when we see for the Asia is the major contributor of the plastic production. You see 51% is produced in the Asia and 30% itself is in China. So we are producing a lot of plastic products and utilizing in our daily life. Now, what about the plastic waste management? We can see that the plastic is mismanaged a lot. This figure, you see that this is the total plastic produced, and the red color shows you the plastic that is not properly managed. And again, we can see in the Asia, a huge amount of plastic waste is generated and not managed properly. So you can see for China, for other countries also like Indonesia, Sri Lanka, Thailand. Thailand is actually number 6 in mismanaging the plastic waste. So let me introduce, before I go to the about my presentation for Thailand, I would like to show you about the Thailand. Thailand is not a big country. It's about, the population is about 70 million. It has 76 provinces and is divided into 4 regions. The major economy is from the service sector, and followed by the manufacturing 30% and agriculture to be 8.3%. The GNP per capita was about $6,400 in 2016, and GDP is about 6,700 in 2017. So it's a developing country, still not considered to be developed country. Now we need to understand, if we want to talk about plastic, we need to know about the solid waste composition, what is happening in the Thailand. So what we see from here, that the solid waste generation is mostly the organic waste, as you can see from here. It's mostly the organic waste is about 40 to 66%, and followed by other materials like paper, plastic, glass, and metals. And we can see here that plastic is also a major component in the solid waste. And if it is not managed properly, it will end up into the environment. The amount of the waste generation actually depends on the population density, urbanization, and income level. And in 2018, the plastic production actually, the waste generation per person was about 1.13 kilogram per person per day. So it's a lot of waste produced, and there is plastic inside. This is from the different regions in Thailand. Now, let's talk about the plastic waste in Thailand. Plastic waste generation in Thailand is about 8 million tons up to 2019. This is from the data of Pollution Control Department 2018. And what we see that about 3.6 million tons is collected and transported to disposal sites, but only 0.7 million is recycled by the local government organizations or utilized as a raw material to produce new plastic. And about 0.22 million tons is incinerated for energy generation, and remaining goes to the landfill. And what we see here, that the major type of the plastic waste that we produce is the high density polyethylene bag. This is 46%, followed by LDPE bags. This is 24%. Then PP bags, PP bottles, they are the other following that. Now, when we have plastics, these plastics can be converted to microplastics. So what happens is, when we talk about microplastics, there are 2 groups of microplastic. One is the primary microplastics, which are actually released directly or used into the product directly. But we have another group that is secondary microplastics, which are produced after the photodegradation of this primary plastics. So when we have plastics outside into the environment, they may go further degradation, photodegradation, or biodegradation, or hydrolysis. There are so many processes, and that can cause the formation of microplastics. So we can have both primary or secondary, like a resin can be a primary microplastic, or microbeads, which are used in cosmetics, can be a primary microplastic. And we can have secondary microplastic. If a plastic bag is lying outside, it can undergo photodegradation and lead to the formation of secondary microplastics. And what is the definition? So most of the literature, according to them, microplastics can be defined as particles from 1 micrometer to 5 millimeter in size. That's what we consider as microplastics. Now, why microplastic is a problem? So what we see that it is a big threat to the aquatic organisms. 15% of the marine species are affected because of the ingestion or entanglement, and they are already in danger. And we believe that it is estimated that 99% of the seabirds will have ingested plastic by 2050. This is according to one of the report of UN Environment. Moreover, these microplastics are also act as a carrier of harmful contaminants. They can carry, you can see here the group, phthalates, PBDs, methyl mercury, pH, and even heavy metals. They can become, so they are attached to the surface of these microplastics and they become the carrier of this. And when the aquatic organisms or they engulf this microplastic, it can be also go into the body, these toxic contaminants. So we see that this is a bigger problem, that not only the smaller size of plastic particles, but also because they act as a carrier of toxic components, organic pollutants, heavy metals, and pathogens also. That's why it is more dangerous to us. So let's see about how the microplastic study started. It's not like a very old studies. In marine environment, we can say that it started earlier. So in 1972, people started to think about the microplastic pollution in marine environment. In freshwater resources, it's recent, not too old. In 2012 onwards, there are studies reported on freshwater resources. And in case of wastewater treatment plants, also from 2012, but drinking water, we also started to see that if there are microplastics into the drinking water, and these are the latest studies that have talked about this microplastics in drinking water, and I will report some of the results from our study too. So this is microplastic pollution in marine environment, and you can see this is the number is concentration in grams per square kilometer, and you can see here these big dots. It shows that there are about 1,000 to 2,500 grams of microplastics per square kilometer in the oceans. They are also reported into the freshwater environment throughout the world. You can see in Rhine River in Germany, in lake in China, Tahoe Lake in China, Three Gorges Reservoir in China, Winnipeg, in Canada, which is considered to be like clean pollution, free from the pollution. It's also there are the microplastics are also reported there. So they are everywhere. There was one study, and it's reported that plastic fibers are found in the tap water in the world. And it was also reported that 93% of the bottled water tested in in a study where they are testing from all over the globe, and they can find microplastic contamination here. And recently, we also found that the microplastics are also present in our consumables like sea salts, seafood, honey, drinking waters, beer. And for example, for drinking water, this can be the main source of exposing our bodies to the microplastics. So let's see some of the results, what we found. So this one is actually, you can see here, all these are the branded bottles that you use, the bottled water. And in this bottled water, we can find out, like in Nestle, the number of particles can be up to 6 to 10,000. This is particles per liter. In Bisleri, in Aqua, I think many of you are using all these brands, Evian, all these have the microplastics present into the bottled water. The average number of particles of size 6.5 to 100 micrometer that is reported is 325 per liter. That's average. Okay. And then also microplastics are reported greater than 100 micrometer in the tap water. So you can see here again in many of the countries in the tap water, like for India, Indonesia, or in France, they are reported also. So microplastics are present in your drinking water, in your bottled water also. So this is something for us to worry. Sorry. Okay, so let me come to some study that our group has done it. And this is we have done actually for the drinking water, we have done for the water treatment plant, we have done for the bottled water. Actually, we try to use single-use plastic bottles, about 16 famous brands in Thailand, which are commonly used. And we also did for the tap water. And you can see the results here, that in every samples from the conventional water treatment plants, the tap water, the bottled water, we have found microplastics inside the samples. So for the bottled water, we found about almost 200 particles per liter. And in the glass bottle, the number is almost 50% lower. So it might seem that the contribution may be coming from the packaging of the single-use plastic bottles, which we are using in the bottling plants. So they may be, during the packaging, some of the particles might have released because lower numbers are found in the glass bottles. So most of the plastics that were reported are like polyethylene, polypropylene, PVCs, PET. They were the most detected microplastic particles. And in the case of raw water, you see here is 1,600. But in the treated water, you cannot remove. What I would like to focus here that not all the particles can be removed in a conventional treatment plant. And majority, you see here, many particles still release in our water supply, and that's what we are getting it. When we also try to study about the microplastic in the Chao Phraya River, this Chao Phraya River is actually a very long river, and it also flows through Bangkok city, which is the capital of Thailand. And we can see all the sizes of the particles here from 1 to 5, 0.3 to 0.5 micrometer, 0.5 to 1 millimeter, and also the smaller sizes that we try to do by using the fluorescence microscope. And these are some of the shapes that we can find, or the morphology of the microplastic that we find. So in case of Chao Phraya River, when Ang Thong is little bit upstream in the river, in the upstream, the number of particles, the microplastic particles, were lower. It's only 41 or 42 items per cubic meter. But if you see in Bangkok, in the city center, we can see here that the number of plastics is higher compared to Ang Thong area. And it also depends on the human activity, how many would be there. We also tested for the heavy metals. So the majority of the particles that we found were PP, PE, and PS, and with the size range of 0.05 to 0.5 millimeter. And we also tested for the heavy metals, and we could find the chromium, copper, nickel, Pb that are attached or adsorbed to the surface of the microplastic. And this can be actually entered into the food chain and transfer into the aquatic life. And when we eat them, we also get these toxic metals exposed to our body. Now, there are many, this toxicity to the human is like a very recent study. Some of the studies started, and what they have found out that if the particles are smaller size, they can enter into our GI tract and into the circulatory system. Fibers, if they are small fibers, you see the size of like less than more than 0.5 to 10, less than 10 micrometer or larger particles, they can be carcinogenic. Some can cause cytotoxicity, that means affect to our cell structures. And some can enter into the lymph nodes. Some can even go to the baby's milk if the particles are present. So you can see here that these are all the studies reporting that it's a serious matter and we need to take care about this microplastic pollution because it can cause impacts to our human health also, not only to the aquatic life. So what is happening for plastic waste management in Thailand? So on 17th April 2019, the plastic waste management roadmap was approved, and this is from 2018 to 2030. So in 2019, 3 plastic products were banned, like plastic capsules in the water. I will show you some example how it can be controlled and how was it controlled. Oxo-degradable plastics and plastic microbeads. We know all that microbeads are used for the cosmetic products and many other products too. And by 2022, there are some more, 4 groups will be stopped in Thailand or they will be banned. So you can see here plastic bags less than 36 microns, styrofoam food boxes, straws, or single-use plastic cups. And by 2027, Thailand aims to have 100% of plastic waste as reusable and recyclable. So there should be no waste. By reducing or doing such action, the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment assumes that we could reduce about the plastic waste about 0.78 million tons per year. And this will save a lot of money for Thailand, about 3.9 billion baht in waste management cost. and also reduce the greenhouse gas emissions to about 1.2 million tons of CO2 equivalent. So it has a lot of advantage if we could follow this roadmap. So this, you can see here that per year, about 2 million tons per year of the plastic waste is produced. This is actually 12% of the total waste production. And plastic waste utilization is about 0.5 million tons. And 1.5 million tons actually is disposed by landfilling or incineration. Majority actually goes into the landfills. Some amount is incinerated, as I showed in my previous slides. So there are three phases in this action plan that Thailand is proposing. The first phase is from 2018 to 2019. The second phase would be from 2020 to 2022. And the third phase will be from 7 years, 2023 to 2030. And they also had a study to find out what are the major products which are found into the marine environment. And these are the major products which were found. Top 10, actually there are 10, but I listed some of the examples. These are found. So you can see here, by 2019, they want to achieve this stoppage of some products. By 2022, they would like to reduce further 4 more products. And the target is to, by 100%, try to 100% of target is plastic waste should go into the circular economy. So what Thailand has done, some of the ongoing actions I would like to share with you. So there's a voluntary agreement with the drinking water producers to use the plastic capsules from 1st April. That was the roadmap first plan in the first phase, and they are succeeded already into this one. They also cooperated with the FDA and under the Ministry of Public Health to stop using primary MPs, and also with the Thai Industrial Standard Institute to stop using the oxo-degradable plastic, which is also their target or the goal. They also had campaigns and voluntary agreement. They cooperated with supermarkets, departmental stores to stop using, and many of the departmental stores these days do not provide any plastic bags. They also have banned the import of plastic scraps from other countries. They are attempting to that. They are not successful 100%. And also to separate the waste in the government organizations and educational institutions, and also to the trying to slow down or reduce the use of single-use plastics in food delivery also. So these are some of the examples of the campaigns. You can see here reducing the plastic bags and foam box in the government offices, reducing in the fresh markets, supermarkets. So they have the campaign on this one in the national parks and also in some coastal areas also, because marine pollution is a big problem. Of the microplastic pollution is big problem in Thailand too. So these are some of the campaigns to convince the general public on reducing the plastic bags in the market, reducing plastic bags in the department store, and stop in the national parks for the plastic bags. So, for example, I was talking about banning the plastic capsules in the bottles. You can imagine that Thailand consumes about 4,400 million bottles per year, and they had a seal on the top. So voluntary agreement with the Drinking Water Association to stop these plastic capsules. They are successful in this one, and this reducing this just the plastic waste from the capsules by over 2,600 million pieces, or about 520 tons per year. The waste can be reduced by doing so. So I would like to say that what we need is, we are talking all about the circular economy. Circular economy concept says that there should be no waste. We should not have the waste produced in the first place. And that's what is telling here, that we should see about the full life cycle concept. So when we use the plastic, we should try to reuse or repair. And after the post-use, we could try to recover the materials, use as a feedstock or use as the energy by doing so. This is what is happening, the situation in the European region. So what they are doing is, most of the plastic is recycled. And About 20% goes to the landfill. And this is from the Plastic Europe report 2017. And about 38 or 39% goes for the energy recovery. But what is more important is reduction at the source. This should be prioritized more than recycling. So if we reduce at the source and try to use alternatives for the plastic, would be better than trying to produce, use it, and then we have the waste that we need to take care or try to recover the energy from that. So what is the way forward? We need actually, as I told you, that circular economy is important for this sector. We need the government participation, citizens participation, business participation. They all need to come together in order to try to reduce the amount of plastic consumption and also try to utilize, if there is some plastic left, it should be utilized again as a resource back. So that's what we have to do it. So what I would like to say that it is actually for the plastic or microplastic management, we need the cooperation from all the sectors, from the government, from the business, from the scientists, researchers, people who are using the plastics. It's very important, cooperation from everybody. And the reduction at the source is the best option. We have also found out that the water treatment plants could not remove, the conventional water treatment plants could not remove 100% of the microplastics because they are not designed for that. And that is why, and in many places, still the household wastewater is not completely treated. Also, it doesn't go for the treatment plant. That means it is a big risk of microplastics entering into our drinking water sources, in our tap water. And that's really we all have to be concerned about and have to be taken care. That means we may have to modify our treatment technologies and to try to take into care of the microplastics also to be removed in our water treatment plants. And the studies for the microplastic, as I told you, on the fresh water and the drinking water is still on its preliminary, or even in the Thailand for many of the things, it's very few people are doing the research. It's not so advanced. So it's more studies are required to support and to raise the awareness among the public and the government about how to do with this plastics and microplastics. So these are the references. Actually, we have few publications of our own that we have done in the related to the Jafra River and also onto the water treatment plant and also on the bottled water. And with this, I would like to thank everybody for your kind attention. And please feel free to ask me any questions if you have. Anybody has, please unmute yourself before you ask me any question. I guess the host will allow you to speak or ask the question to me. Anybody has any question? No questions? Any? Yes?
Dr. Babel, I think we don't have questions. You can continue.
Okay, so if we have no questions, we move to other presenters in our session that we have. So I would like to invite, I do not have the, so we have the presentation for the title, Landfill Site Selection for Solid Waste Disposal Using Geospatial Data and Weight Overlay Method in GIS Environment by V. Kumar et al. If I have no biography received for you, so maybe you can introduce yourself before you start the presentation. Thank you. The floor is yours. I can unshare the screen. I think you can share the screen, please. I already
Okay.
stopped sharing. Yeah.
Thank you, Mrs. Babel. Firstly, I want to say hello to everyone. My presentation is about Zero Waste strategies and Turkey's Zero Waste project. The result of human activities since the Industrial Revolution is a warming effect resulting from carbon dioxide emissions and increased by emissions of other greenhouse gases. In this context, the challenge today is how to survive on Earth in an unprecedented scenario of economic development with increasing energy demand and global warming processes. Waste is defined by the Waste Framework Directive as any substance or object which the holder discards or intends or required to discard. According to the OECD, wastes are materials that are intended for disposal. Due to the high demand for new products, huge amounts of natural resources are being used up every day. Globally, 130 billion tons of natural resources are consumed each year, and approximately 4 billion tons of urban solid wastes are generated. Type of waste. Zero waste is a whole system approach that aims to eliminate waste instead of managing it. In addition to encouraging waste diversion from landfill and incineration, it's a guiding design philosophy to eliminate waste at its source and at all points in the supply chain. With the zero waste application, the threats to the earth, human, animal, or planet life can be eliminated by discharges to the soil, water, or air. Wastes are handled in four main groups in practice. Household waste. The definition of household waste in the environmental law is defined as solid waste from places such as residences, industry, workplace, picnic areas that are not included in the scope of hazardous and hazardous waste. Medical waste. The concept of medical waste is expressed as cutting, piercing wastes, pathological waste, and infectious waste in the environmental law. Industrial wastes are wastes that are harmful to the environment and human health resulting from industrial activities. Special waste, waste oils, batteries, used tires and batteries that are not disappear from nature for a long time are listed within the scope of special waste. At the same time, agricultural solid waste, corporate and industrial solid waste are excavation wastes are also examined under this title. Zero waste. Increasing amount of waste creates enormous pressure on a sustainable waste management, creating opportunities for the implementation of new approaches and strategies. The term zero waste was first used in the chemical industry in 1973 in connection with the recovery of usable components from chemical compounds. Reducing wastes to zero and ensuring their sustainability at the same time is expressed as zero waste management. The main purpose of this management system is to reduce the pollution caused by environmental problems during production at the source with the most appropriate method and to minimize these wastes with the directions to be made in the next stage. Striving for zero waste requires a holistic approach targeting zero waste of source, energy, materials, zero emissions, zero waste in activities, zero waste in product life, zero use of toxics. Principles of zero waste. To follow up zero waste strategy, Zero Waste International Alliance has published some principles and practical steps which are being applied all over the world in the large urban communities and small rural communities. This section will present main principles which are extracted from the WISE documents. Adopt to zero waste definition. The definition in present, according to the West International Alliance, zero waste is conservation of all resources by means of responsible production, consumption, reuse and recovery of products, packaging and materials without burning and with no charges to land, water or air that are threaten the environment or human health. Establish benchmarks. In order to monitor the process and access the accomplishment, establishing benchmarks and having a detailed timeline is necessary. Engage the whole community. Everyone has their own role in the movement towards zero waste community, as a matter of the fact that every person in the world generates wastes. What if everyone starts to do small actions in zero waste manner? Therefore, the process towards zero waste would become more quickly. Demand decision makers manage resources, not waste. Landfill is the main source of greenhouse gases, which warms the atmosphere dramatically. Meanwhile, incineration is the better choice for utilizing waste to energy. Perform zero waste assessments. Performing assessments and evaluations is important to measure the waste management system under the control of local government. This rule enacts extended producer responsibilities rules. This rule forces producers to use the financial incentive and redesign the product for easier reusing and being less toxic. In a result, worn-out product can be repaired, raised and recycled in the most environmental friendly way as possible. This can reduce the amount of disposed water in landfills. Expand zero waste infrastructure. There are many infrastructures need to be expanded during zero waste program period. Locations for reusing, recycling and composting should be developed. Business and manufacturers should be encouraged to collect and process materials, take back and recycle worn-out products. Challenge business to lead the way to the zero waste. Zero waste-oriented business has established all over the world and brought positive impacts on environment. Zero waste business should be supported locally and encouraged by the expanded. The section examples of zero waste management applications. First, Singapore applications. Singapore is a country that has limited land and natural resources for urban planning and development, and its population is constantly on the rise. In Singapore, the amount of waste disposed has increased 7 times in the last year, from 1,200 tons per day in 1970 to 2,000 tons per day in 2015. If it continues in this way, the life of the landfill is predicted to be about 35 years, and it becomes necessary to build an additional incineration plant every 7 to 10 years. With zero waste manner plan launched in Singapore, recycling rate from 60% since 2012 to 70% by 2030. The law on solid waste management in Singapore is the Environmental Pollution Control Act, which came into force in April 1999 and is a consolidation of existing legislation on air, water and waste control, including environmental public health. German application. The most important legislation is the Waste Prevention and Disposal Law. In accordance with this law, setting targets for the reduction, recovery, and reuse of non-toxic waste based on technical feasibility, cost, and availability of markets, to publish guidelines for the environmentally friendly disposal of waste, regulating the volume and conditions for the application of waste to agricultural lands, regulating the labeling and recycling of products can be produced toxic waste is among the duties of the government. In the avoidance of disposal law, waste management defines the recovery or production of waste as a material or energy, waste storage, and the necessary collection, transportation, treatment, and storage process. Indonesia application. Zero Waste project in Indonesia is carried about YPBB. YPBB found that Bandung, the third largest city in Indonesia, 205 million people living in the city generate approximately 1,600 tons of waste each day. More than half of residents' waste, or 63%, is organic waste. Recyclable materials come in second at 23%, while the rest of 14% are remnant waste. Subsequently, potential savings can be employed in recruiting more waste workers and in developing more collections. Decentralized recycling and the development of the composting facilities, the recycling of 950 kilograms of waste have provided in the project carried out by YPBB per day. Turkey's zero waste management. There is a zero waste project initiated by the Ministry of Environmental and Urbanization in 2017. Public institutions, organizations in the project, educational institutions, shopping malls, hospitals, rest facilities, and the implementation of fund in large business and aims to move all applications in Turkey in 2023. This is Turkey's role in the waste cycle. 18,700 public institutions as the May 2019 in Turkey had begun to be included in the Zero Waste project. This recycling rate is 46% in the European Union countries compared with the 13% in Turkey. The project aims to increase recycling rate 35% in Turkey by 2023. In Turkey, companies, institutions or organizations, there are 7 steps that need to apply to be included in the zero waste system. First, determination of focal points. The persons who will be responsible for the establishment, effective and efficient implementation, monitoring, information flow and reporting of zero waste management system in the organization are determined. There are the people who will lead the team to ensure zero waste management. Determination of the current station. While implementing the zero waste management system in your organization, first of all, it will help you to determine how you are in terms of waste and analyze your current situation. Planning. In this stage, a deadline plan specific to institution is prepared based on the current station. Determine of needs and supply. While applying the system in the institution, all the equipment that will be needed is determined, listed and supplied before the implementation by considering each unit in the institution. Education. After the supply, the equipment is completed, Practical training and information activities are carried out for the target audiences before starting the application. In application step, the accumulation equipment provided is placed at point easily accessible by personnel at appropriate intervals. Information posters designed according to the equipment are hang on the equipment is an easily visible way. Attention should be paid to the color scale in spooling equipment and promotional materials. And the final section, reporting. At this stage, monitoring is carried out by the working team in order to evaluate the effectiveness of the application. And if any the deficiencies or the parties to be developed are determined and measures are taken. With the Zero Waste Summit held on November 1st, 2018 with the Zero Waste Project, the goal of increasing a viable environment and a stronger economy has been determined by the separating wastes at their source and ensuring recycling. According to the summit realized, the Zero Waste Project is a saving and efficiency project. It is seen as a resource to be converted into waste raw materials and new products which are recent studies on the environment. The main goal is to spread this practice to the whole country with the published Zero Waste regulation. Thank you for your listening me.
Okay. Question to the presenter. Now I can find you. Sorry, I missed. You are a PhD student, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, done. You are. I just see that I put on the wrong session, but you are on the zero session. Okay, that's fine. Anybody has any question? Okay, I have one question. If somebody has, okay. This study that you have done, that you reported, is actually based on the literature review. Is it correct?
Yes. Do you question about references, literature?
Sorry?
Your question about literature references?
Yeah, I mean, no. My question is that you have this, the presentation is based on you have reviewed about the zero waste system in many countries and you try to report it here, correct? Is that my understanding correct about that?
Yes.
Uh-huh. So do you think that the countries are successful in achieving the zero waste goal?
Yes, this is a new systems in all of countries. I think this is better continuing in these countries.
Okay. I think we are over the time, so maybe I will move to the next presenter. The next presenter, I think is 096 paper, public attitudes towards to reaching zero waste management goal. I2U Ayazağa campus case study. Who
Yes.
will be the presenter? Please introduce yourself first, because I do
Okay.
not have any biography for you. And please,
Okay.
you have 12 minutes for presentation, followed by 2-3 minutes for question answers. So
Okay.
please remember the time limit, because we need to finish. Next session would start after that. So please try to manage your time.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
So you can share your slides now.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kadriye Maçin. Today I will present you a study conducted last year with my professors.
Please make it into full presentation mode. Can you make it into the full presentation mode, slide mode? Okay. Thank you.
Sorry. Maybe 1 minute. Okay, sorry. Can you see full screen now? I think that's okay now, right? Okay, I think there is no problem. I'm Maçin. I'm a PhD student in ETU. So I will present a study that we conducted last year with my professors. This is a preliminary study of a larger project called as Sustainable Life in ETU Ayazağa. Before starting the presentation, we try in all sustainability projects. I think we should focus on all three pillars of the sustainability, which are environment, economic, and social. So in this study, we try to understand public attitudes towards the successful waste management. So, okay. So before starting our study, maybe we can talk about the importance of the subject, why zero waste management is so popular in all around the world. Today, we know that according to Ellen MacArthur Foundation, which are primarily focused on the circular economy, 45% of the total emissions are related to material consumption. And the remaining 55% is related to energy production, which also includes the all waste management sector activities, including landfill, transport and collection, etc. So also we know that material consumption will be doubled by the 2060. So in recent years, zero waste management and circular economy are popular approach. So there is no one exact definition of zero waste, but we could say that zero waste can be defined as reducing consumption of natural resources and materials as much as possible with the life cycle approach from the design stage of a matter. So the waste management starts from the design stage of a matter. So when we look at the situation in Turkey, we know that Turkey has almost 31 million tons waste production, and almost 10% of it is recycled or composted, remains sent to landfills or the open dumps. In this regard, last year in July 2019, Minister of Urbanization published a regulation which aims to send zero waste to landfills in all country. And the Beşiktaş complex was the first institution that started the zero waste management activities. And after that, other public and private institutions, and especially universities, have been started projects since then. I think when we look at the universities, they have additional duties than the other institutions. Also, after the SDGs establishment in 2015, their responsibility were clarified. And the aim of this study was to understand the public attitudes before design or plan a new zero waste management in a campus. Because the stakeholders inside stakeholders are primary actors in the waste management. So we have three questions. What are the participants' knowledge about current waste management in the campus? What will be their attitudes towards the new zero waste management, and their suggestions and complaints about current waste management and their suggestions. So we conducted a questionnaire online by using ETU website, called as ETUVETI. It's a questionnaire website by provided ETU. And for this questionnaire, we divided campus in 4 units, and we select 4 buildings from each unit. Also, I will also mention about it in the future, but we also conducted waste characterization studies in these units. So maybe I can continue with the results. Almost 2,000 people contribute to these questionnaires, and most of them were male. And almost 80% of the responders are graduate and undergraduate students, remains academic and the other stuff. Our questionnaire also has question related to organic waste management, because we know that the zero waste management in Turkey most focused on the recycling activities of plastics and other packaging waste. But biological waste management is important as much as the technical cycle or the packaging waste. So our questionnaire also have questions related to that, like whether they will support organic waste management separation in dining hall. So that's why we choose the dining hall as a unit area, because almost all of the campus users also use the dining hall. So according to results related to current waste management system, I called it current waste management system, but it already started zero waste management strategy in the campus. So actually, when I say current, I mention about before this questionnaire. So according to that, almost 75% of the participants don't have any knowledge about the waste management system in the university. What is the previous waste management in the university? It has two different types of containers, which one blue containers for the recyclables and the gray containers for the other waste. And of course, hazardous waste and medical waste were managed separately from the other waste. Also, we have other question about recyclables. First, we ask, do you know waste management system? Also, we ask, do you think that the recycling is efficient in the campus? And 12% of the responders believe that recyclable waste source separation in the campus is enough, and the remain 88% is not believing that. Also, we have questions related to plastic waste management and plastic bottles, because we know that almost 56% of the plastic bottle production have been produced in the last 20 years. So we ask how many bottles you are using in the campus, and except dining hall, and they almost 60% of the responders or participants say they use at least one plastic bottle in a day. So when we calculate this amount for all of the campus population, we found that almost 30,000 plastic bottle is used in the Ayazağa campus in a day. So it's almost equal to 1 million plastic bottle usage in a year from only Ayazağa campus. We also have additional question for the dining hall, because also we have additional question for the dining hall, and this time participants say almost 83% of the participants use at least one plastic bottle. So this 1 million maybe increase 1.5 million in a day, in a year, I'm sorry. So also we ask a question, do you ever heard zero waste management approach before? As a total, all of the units almost have similar answers, except student affairs building. As a result, as an overall, 41% of the participants never heard it before. The ones that heard this approach before, they mostly heard from the media. For example, in the Faculty of Civil Engineering, only 23% of it heard from the lecture or the other source from the university. So they mainly heard from the media or their personal connections. So we ask also, why do you think zero waste management is important? In this question, they could choose multiple options, but they mostly choose environmental. They mostly have environmental morals instead of economic benefits. They also choose that, but they mostly choose reaching sustainable life, and they choose our moral responsibilities for the future generations. So we basically can see that even without any further education or their knowledge about the waste management, they have a positive attitude about the zero waste management. So we also have Likert scale questions for their attitudes towards the future zero waste management. First, we ask, do you support this management system? Almost all of them, almost 99% of responders say they will suggest it. Then we ask another question, if this new management system will affect your daily life. This time, 28% says whenever this will, the management system will, I will support this. The 40, I didn't write that here, but the 40% of it say it depends on the situation. When we collect them, almost 70% of the participants says they will support new zero waste management system. Even it will support their, it will affect their daily life. Also, we have additional question for the organic waste. Again, they say they will support and try to apply new zero waste management system, almost 70%. So we have another question about the water fountains in the buildings. As I said before, almost 1 million plastic bottles produced in the campus. So only 20% of the participants are hesitant to drink it, and 11% of say they won't drink it. I think we can increase this number with the further awareness and the education campaigns, because as I said before, this is the preliminary study of the project. So they also want to follow up the new developments from the mobile application of ITÜ, and they want to see posters and awareness campaigns in the all of around the campus. So we also have open-ended questions for learning their complaints and the suggestions for the future activities. They mostly complains about the insufficient number of places and the number of containers. Mostly they write, I couldn't find any recycling container. I don't know where is the place of the recycling containers. Also, they suggest wider usage of e-learning system. Ironically, we know that after COVID-19, almost all of the education now all around the world continues with e-learning. But this also the suggestion from the participants. Also, they suggest sustainability courses in undergraduate level and seminars and waste bringing centers. Of course, before COVID-19, after this questionnaire, we already started the sustainability and the waste management education in the campus. Hopefully, they will continue after the COVID-19. As a conclusion, as I said before, most of the participants don't know current waste management, or they don't have any idea. 41% of the haven't heard it before, zero waste management, but they are willing to participate these activities, even it will cause their change their daily habits. Also, when we look at the zero waste management regulation, they have some starting dates for the institutions, but the regulation itself don't have any targets, specific targets, recycling targets for the specific years. Of course, we have other regulations related to that, but the regulation itself doesn't have it. So maybe universities could be key. An example for the mesoscale institutions, for the minor municipalities, for the application of the zero waste management activities. And we suggest for the future studies, and we also will focus on in our future studies, the waste management performance and the strategy after educations. Also, when we look at all of the applications in Turkey, they mostly focus on the recycling activities. But also we see at the beginning of the presentation, the main step is waste prevention from the design stage of a matter. So also, I think multidisciplinary studies should focus on this step. And finally, again, most of the studies are conducted with top-down approach. Maybe bottom-up actions, which are leading by the society, can have a positive effect on zero waste management, and the universities could be key for this approach. These are the references we will use, and thank you.
Thank you. To give us the example of a university study, how we could achieve for the zero waste management and public attitude. May I ask you one question before I move to ask the audience? When you study about this public attitude towards zero waste management, do you find what is the most challenging that would obstruct your goal to achieve the zero waste management? In case of like, what is the behavior of the people that may not be acceptable, or you will not be able to achieve the zero waste management? Any issue that came as a burning issue for you?
Are you asking for the specific our campus, or as a general from the literatures?
You can tell for both the things, general and from your campus, your first-hand experience during the interviews. Yeah, also. Yeah.
For our campus, we are very hopeful about the reaching target. We don't have any specific year for reaching target, but as I've said before, people are willing to participate it. They mostly saying that we can apply all of the rules for the zero waste management, but we don't have any system. So they suggested first to us the first build a new system. We also have personal interviews with the stakeholders in the campus. So we are hopeful about that. But as I see in the literature and the other municipality reports and from the personal interviews, I see that they waiting for step from the management. So we are in the preliminary stage as I can say for the maybe country. So first, I think the education will be, and the system approach will be the first step. Then we can waiting some management activities from the society. Maybe in the universities, students may be the key for the starting new approach.
Okay.
I don't know. It's
And in general, what do you think about, like, what is the main obstacle to achieve the zero waste management? If you have any clue, I mean, you can just give me, not from your university point of view, but also from general point of view.
As I said, I think we mostly focus on the recycling. We are focusing on the end of the life, but we should focus on the design and the production of a matter. So this is a holistic approach. This is, I think, the main problem.
Thank you so much for your presentation. Any quick question from the audience? If you have, please unmute. Otherwise, if you do not have, then we will move to the next presenter in the session. Anybody, please? And can you unshare your slide, please?
Sorry.
Yeah, can you unshare your slide? So we have, okay.
Okay, I think I don't have any question. Thank you.
Yeah, anybody has a question quickly? I think nobody is telling. So that means, thank you very much for the presentation. Okay. Anybody has a question can also write on a chat box. That's also possible. Okay. Okay, so we will move to the next presentation now. I think it's paper number 180, Investigation of Solid Waste Collection and Source Separation Alternatives in Beşiktaş. I am not sure I'm pronouncing correctly or not. District with zero waste focus and GI support. And I have the and biography. So let me introduce. She received her BSc in Environmental Engineering from Selçuk University Environmental Engineering Department, Konya, Turkey, and her MSc in Environmental Engineering Department from Kapse Technical University Environmental Engineering Department in Turkey. She is still a PhD student on Zero Waste Management at Yildiz Technical University Environmental Engineering Department, and she works as an environmental engineer. So can you please start sharing your slides? And as I told before, I think we need to limit our presentation to 12 to 13 minutes, followed by some time for the question answers, if any.
Okay.
Thank you very much. The floor is all yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Akçay. I will present you about zero waste management in Beşiktaş. I want to indicate the states of my work, firstly.
Can you please make your slide into the presentation mode? It's like not full slide still. Slide show.
To control the time.
Sorry?
Can I present like this for control the time?
You can present, but it is not clearly visible. So I think it's better. I will tell you when the time is over. I am monitoring the time. So it's okay. Don't worry. Please make it in the slideshow.
Okay.
So that we can see the full screen. Now we can only see very part of the screen. Yeah, please.
Okay.
Just make into slideshow for, yeah. Yeah, okay. This one is better. Yes. Yes.
Firstly, I will talk about the population that I introduced to you in the district of Beşiktaş. And then I will explain the current solid waste management in the district. Thirdly, I will talk about the study how the requirements of the zero waste management system can be applied to Beşiktaş district using the geographical information system. Lastly, in last part, I will talk about the economical and environmental benefits in case of according to the zero waste management. Beşiktaş district is the one of the oldest settlements in Istanbul. It has an area of 11 square kilometers along the Bosphorus and neighborhoods Beyoğlu, Şişli, and Sarıyer. It consists of 23 neighborhoods, 4 boulevards, 109 avenues, 949 streets. Beşiktaş municipality collected 347 tons of waste per a day with an average of 78 daily trips in 2019 through the containers it put on the streets, avenues, and residences, and took them to the Barithane transfer station. These are the types of containers used current solid waste collection method. The green ones are plastic, the gray ones are galvanized. Both have volume of 770 liters. These containers are collected by 7 cubic meters, 11 cubic meters, and 13 cubic meters by hydraulic compacting trucks with rear loading. In some wide streets and alleys, collection is made with the two types of containers with a volume of 3,000 liters and 3,750 liters, which can be collected with a truck crane system on the side. When we examine the data in the table, it's observed that the population is decreasing, but the amount of waste is increasing. The amount of waste are marked with asterisks. The amount of waste per person actually shows that the amount of waste related with people who came to Beşiktaş for work, education, and pass through. According to waste characterization made by İstaç in 2017 for Beşiktaş district, 38% organic, 20% recyclable, 30% burnable, 10% non-burnable, 1% e-waste, and 1% hazardous waste. The amount of the waste sent to transfer stations and the amount of recycled waste are compared. It is seen that for below the value of 20% in the characterization, the reasons for the situation are that is weekly separate collection in the source. The waste is still collected in a mixed state, and there is also illegal collectors. In Beşiktaş, in the last 20 years, there have been returns from houses to workplaces, such as Levent, Etiler, Sinanpaşa neighborhoods with high populations during the day. It has become possible for us to monitor the amount of solid waste generated by the guest population coming to Beşiktaş during the pandemic process. March 2019 to September 2019, March 2020 to September 2020. When we examine the table detail, we see that the April 2020, when the pandemic is at its peak, workplaces, restaurants are closed, is the most difference. We requested from İstaç the characterization of solid waste for the neighborhoods with oriented households and business. Based on the solid waste characterization result, waste loads will be reviewed. So, the amount of waste, half from local population, half from guest population. Zero waste approach aims to minimize the amount of waste sent to the landfill. The geographic information system provides the collection, management, analysis of the data that is designed to solve complex planning and management problems and determines the location. The determinant of container locations was made by visiting all the avenues and streets. The main reason for this to evaluate how feasible the optimum route is. In this slide, there is an optimum route for Konaklar neighborhood. Firstly, we optimize the route, and then when İstaç gave the new characterization, we make new waste loads, and we manage the container systems like this. Zero waste say to if you can't minimize the solids, you can separate in the source. So we separate in the source.
İkisini de yapar.
Current waste management scenario and show this slide. In order to implement the zero waste approach, it is urgently necessary to ensure that organic waste are collected separately. This current story, these are collected and went to Barutane station. New version scenario of zero waste, 2 of them organic, 1 of them recyclable, and 2 of them will be combustible or sent to Barutane. It's about combustion system in Istanbul municipality.
İkisini de yap. İkisi.
When our study is completed, look at the streets and avenues of Beşiktaş. We aim to see then different collection systems for municipal solid waste. It's 350 tons. If we separate at source, 120 or 140 tons goes to organic waste, to composing. 50 or 70 tons recyclable, and 137 to incinerate. If zero waste management is implemented exactly planned, if organic waste, recyclable waste, and combustible waste collected this way, the target is achieved by assumed that daily average is 354 tons. Thanks for listening. I have a technical fault because of the mouse. Sorry.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. Anybody on the audience have a question? So please, you can unmute yourself and ask to the speaker.
Yes, I have a question. I am Dr. Rafizul from Bangladesh.
Okay, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for your nice presentation. I am a professor of university in Khulna University of Engineering Technology. Just I want to know, I think zero waste management is very important for all over the world. However, you know, especially in Bangladesh, this is the developed country. So we have a problem. We have lots of rules in Bangladesh, but the problem is it is very difficult to implement. You explain that is the source separation is very important for us. So sometimes it depends on the public attitude. So what can I do now? In Bangladesh, what's your suggestion? How can we improve the attitude of Bangladesh? Because we have rule, but they don't know how to implement this one. So what's your suggestion about the developing country? How can we implement zero waste management?
Okay. These student citizens are very educated, so we can manage this correctly.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
But in Bangladesh, I don't want to say this, but you can make a how can it say?
Okay, I got your point. So we have to manage actually. So how to implement the rule? We have to arrange the owners camping and also the owners camping for everyone, so they can follow the rule. So it's easy for everyone to follow the rule for waste management system. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody has any more question?
I have one question.
Yes, please.
Okay. This is Nedim Vardar from Inter-American University of Puerto Rico. Thank you for that great presentation. My question is, when you talk about the recyclable material, what kind of material included in that category?
Paper, cupboard, glass, small plastic, and can.
Okay. Do you know the numbers, the percent of each one, like the paper and plastics? Do you have any data about that?
It's almostly paper,
Mostly paper.
because of recyclable packaging materials. The illegal collectors take them from the street or avenues waste bins.
Okay.
So we can take them from business, banks, AVM, like the businesses. So in streets and avenues, illegal collectors took them. So the characterization of recyclable materials isn't correct.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. So we will invite now the last presenter for this session. I think paper number 135, College Student Perception and Attitude Toward the Use of Plastic Bags in Turkey and Puerto Rico. So if you are ready, oh, this is not the paper we have now. This is for the second session. Please, we have, I guess landfill is on the second session. Please, you will be starting in session 2. So we have another presenter, that I say paper number 135, College Student Perception and Attitude Toward the Use of Plastic Bags in Turkey and Puerto Rico. Is the presenter here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
And I think first they have to, okay, remove. Okay, yeah.
Please
Now I
unshare
will-
the slide. Yeah, okay. So you can share your slides. Okay. Please change into presentation mode. Thank you. Full slideshow.
Okay.
Yep, this one. Correct.
Okay, so, let's see. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. In this study, we tried to collect some data about the college students' perception and attitudes towards the use of plastic bag in 2 countries, Turkey and in Puerto Rico. This is my name, Nedim Mardar. I finished my bachelor in Istanbul Technical University, and I did my master degree in Yıldız Technical University. And finally, I finished my PhD in Illinois Institute of Technology, Chicago. And since 2003, I've been working in Puerto Rico at Inter-American University School of Engineering. So we know that the plastics are the kind of miracle materials. We use them everywhere. And like we buy the food, the packaging comes with plastics. We buy cars to make the car lighter, we use plastic there. So everywhere we are using the plastics. Why? Because they are cheap, lightweight, and easy to produce. And because of those conveniences, we start producing large amount of plastic starting from 1950s. In 1950s, we produced around 1.5 million tons of plastics per year. Then you see the production increased significantly. And in 2017, 348 million tons of plastic were produced all around the world. In Europe, similar, there is an increase, but somehow they are kind of steady, around 60 million tons of plastics. Maybe the consumer, they are more careful, more cautious about the plastic packaging and plastic waste. That's why maybe in Europe, the number is not increasing significantly since 2008. So as a result of huge amount of production of plastics, what happened? Our garbage, the solid waste we are producing, start having significant amount of plastic waste. As we can see in this garbage cans, most of the items are plastics, made of plastics. So here are the numbers for United States. Data taken from the US EPA. And you see here in 1970, only 2,900,000 tons of plastic waste produced. But in 2007, the number increased 35.4 million tons. So here the location of two countries, Turkey per person, 0.21 kilogram plastic produced per day. And in Puerto Rico, pretty similar number, 0.25 kilogram per person per day. These numbers for 2010. So both countries have pretty similar characteristics. So why we use plastic bag in shopping, in groceries? Because they're lightweight, strong, waterproof, which means if it rains, when you have paper bag, you cannot carry the items contained in the bag. But in plastics, it doesn't matter if it's raining or not, still we can carry the items. And it's cheaper and it's very convenient to use. However, we know that, as the session chair emphasized, that plastic pollution start becoming a serious problem. Maybe it's gonna be as serious as like global warming. So we know that plastics, once we throw them away, it will take almost a couple hundred years to decompose. So that's why we have to pay attention and try to reduce the amount of plastics we are consuming. Here, there is a couple pictures showing that the sea animals, they're consuming the plastic, they're ingesting plastic, thinking that these are the food for them. Like sea turtles, some other big fish, and then dolphins. They think that these are the food for them, and they eat them. And we know that in the food chain, in the bioaccumulation, this may end up in human body also. And we already know some studies that in several parts of the world, several scientists identify that there are some microplastics in air. So not only ingesting, we are also breathing the microplastic these days. So because of that, many states start taking some actions. They start banning the use of plastics all around the world. Denmark, kind of one of the leading countries, in 1994, they imposed a tax on plastic containers. Then some other developing countries and less developed countries, they also took some actions. Like Bangladesh in 2002, they prohibit using the plastic bag in capital. The same thing in Rwanda. They banned the use of plastic in the shops. In Puerto Rico, the Plastic Bag Act started in 2015. I mean, the law passed in 2015, but it went into effect in January 1st, 2017. And 2 years later, Turkey also introduced a tax on plastic bag. So in Puerto Rico, if you want to get the plastic bag at the grocery store, you have to pay 10 cents. In Turkey, I believe it's still 25 cents if they haven't increased that one. Actually, 25 kurush, not the cents, yeah. So what are the bags we are using to carry the grocery items? These are the traditional one, the thin one. So this conventional plastic bag was designed for single use. It's thin and light. And then now they start promoting this thick one because you can reuse this one for several cases. Here, as I said, in Puerto Rico, you have to pay 10 cents if you want to get this thick plastic bag. There are some other stores, they offer paper bags. is free. They are not charging anything for the paper bags. So now we want to find out how our students are feeling about the use of plastic bags. They prefer to keep using the thin plastic bags, or they purchase this thick plastic bag. So we implement a survey, an online questionnaire, to find out their perception and their attitudes. So in Puerto Rico, this study was conducted with undergraduate students from different engineering departments. And in Turkey, the students were from environmental engineering department. They are studying at Yıldız Technical University. So in Turkey, in Puerto Rico, the students usually were coming from every part of the island, which means the campus is a commuter campus. I believe the similar case valid for the Yıldız Technical University also, because the student comes from different cities of the country. So in that sense, the participant kind of represent the whole Turkey and whole Puerto Rico. The survey conducted using the web link, and these are the demographic of the participant. So in Puerto Rico, we were able to receive 93 surveys completed. In Turkey, 59. As I said earlier, 100% of the students in Puerto Rico, they are from undergraduate programs, whereas in Turkey, 60% of them are undergraduate, 40% of them are graduate students. So the students in Puerto Rico, they are from electrical, mechanical, and industrial engineering programs, whereas in Turkey, all of them were from environmental engineering. And gender of the students in Puerto Rico, which is this green color, shows the gender of the students in Puerto Rico. Only 17% of the students were female, whereas in Turkey, 80% of the students are female. So in the survey, we asked these 5 main questions. Where do you do most of your food and grocery shopping? And what do you use to carry the items you purchase at a grocery store? The third question, what do you do with the plastic bags after you use them once? Fourth question, do you think plastic bags are a better alternative than the paper and reusable fabric bags? And the last one, this was implemented only in Istanbul study. Have you increased your use of plastic bags recycled from vegetables, fruits, shopping? Because as we know in Turkey, there are small bazaar. People go there to buy the vegetables and fruits, and there usually they offer the single-use plastics bags. Whereas in Puerto Rico, we don't have that kind of small bazaar, so we have to go to the supermarkets to buy the fruits and vegetables. That's why we didn't implement the last question in Puerto Rico. So the results. For the first question, so we asked them, where do you do most of your food and grocery shopping? The first one, number 1, shows that supermarket, food store that charges for plastic bags. So as you can see, most of the participants do their grocery shopping at supermarkets that charge for plastic bags. The big chain supermarkets, these are like in Puerto Rico is Costco and Sam's Club. In Turkey is like Migros and similar, like I think Migros and this French, I forgot the name now. The French store, yeah. Anyway, so these are the, which one?
Carrefour.
Carrefour, yeah, thank you, Carrefour, yeah. So Migros and Carrefour. So again, in Puerto Rico is Sam's Club and Costco, but in Turkey is Migros and Carrefour. And these are the small markets, local markets. So as we can see, only few participants does their shopping at small local stores. So the second question was, what do you use to carry the items you purchase at a grocery store? So here, kind of it gives us the idea that the implementation of the ban is working, because as we can see, most of the students, they use reusable bags, reusable fabric or plastic bags. Only few, like 12% in Puerto Rico, 10% in Turkey, they use or they buy plastic bags. So the other thing, like here in the second, no one buys reusable bag in Turkey. I think the reason for this one, since the stores, kind of as a promotion, they give free reusable bags, and that's why people do not pay any money. But in Puerto Rico, yeah, you have to pay 10 cents if you want to buy reusable plastic bags. Another question was, what do you do with the plastics after you use them once? It's pretty similar characteristics. Most of the participants said that they reuse them, either to collect the garbage in the house or to collect the animal waste. Only a small percent of the student says they take them somewhere else to recycle, or they just simply throw in the regular garbage. So again, more than 80% of the participants, they reuse the plastic bag they purchase or they get free. This last question is a bit interesting. The result was kind of not what we were expecting. The question was, do you think plastic bags are a better alternative than paper and fabric bags? Only 17% of the students in Puerto Rico, they said yes, plastic bags are a better alternative, whereas that number was 20% for Turkey. The interesting part was this part. Most of the students in Turkey, they're from environmental engineering, and they said they don't have any idea whether plastic bags or paper or fabric bags are better. Whereas in this number was much smaller, significantly smaller in Puerto Rico. Only 20% of the students said they don't have any idea. So, as a conclusion, the survey result shows us that the policies to reduce the plastic bags has been effective in both countries. More than 80% of the participants indicated that the ban of plastic bag, they have been using reusable, since the ban of the plastic bags, they are using the reusable paper or fabric or the thick plastic bags. 83% in Puerto Rico and 86% in Turkey prefer using single-use plastic bags in trash can or for collecting the animal waste instead of throwing them in regular garbage. And only 16 and 20% of the participants in Puerto Rico and Turkey respectively thinks that the plastic bags are more sustainable than paper and fabric bags. As I indicated earlier, at the beginning of the study, we hypothesized that awareness of the student majoring in environmental engineering would be higher than the student of other engineering programs. But the survey result shows us that The student studying at environmental engineering, they have no idea whether paper or fabric bags are better alternative than plastic bags. So that was very interesting finding of this study. So these are the references we use in this study. And I think we have enough time for questions. If you have any question.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. Actually, I find interesting that environmental engineering students have no clue what to use. So that's really interesting. Because we knowing what is happening here. Anyway, I would like to give first I have a question actually. Do you think because of the education and the awareness that most of the students do not try to buy the plastic bags and try to use reusable bags or cloth bags? Do you think this is because of the education that they have, or the young generation have the awareness about the environment? Or in general, would you think about in Turkey or in Puerto Rico, the people would have this similar attitude, not only in the institutions or the education organization?
I would say both education and the ban, because like in Puerto Rico, if you go to grocery store, if you don't want to pay 10 cents for the reusable plastic bags or $1 for the fabric bags, you have to, you don't have any tools to carry the items. So it's kind of, you are forced, either buy or bring your own bag. And there are many campaigns like TV commercials or at the stores. They are kind of encouraging people to bring their own reusable bags, and they kind of promoting that attitudes, that behavior. In Turkey, I believe maybe education also, since all the participants are the college students, most probably the school, and since they are from environmental engineering, most probably they are aware of the effect of the plastic pollution.
Okay. Yeah, that's what we need to do, raise the awareness among the public to reduce the consumption of the plastic. That is important. Okay, from the audience, if anybody has a quick question, then please unmute yourself and then you can ask to the speaker. Any question from your side? Can you please unshare your slide?
Okay.
Okay. Unshare so that we can see thank you. Yeah. Thanks a lot. Okay, anybody, any question from the audience? Please unmute yourself if you have a question. And if we do not have a question, I think there is no question for you now. I guess this session is already late and the next session would start soon. So I think I would like to thank all the presenters for this session, for your kind cooperation and maintaining the time as much as possible. And I would like to give the mic to the host. So please, you can, if you have any message for the next session, please feel free to share with the audience here. The host side, please. Is the host there?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you,
Okay.
S.Babel,
Would you like to say something to for the next session?
Okay.
Actually, we conclude our session now for the zero waste. Yes.
We thank you for your participation, and we can continue with this session 2, land filling. Professor Dr. Barış Çağlı will be the chair.
Yes, I'm here.
But we will give a little break for 5 minutes. We will continue with session 2 after 5 minutes.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you for participation, all of you.